Hello everyone, Ted Clayton here, another video in the installment Proof That Most Women Hate Short Men. Now, this one is a flashback, a quick story, but nonetheless a flashback. This happened more than a decade ago. I would say 15, maybe even close to 20 years ago, and it's something I wanted to share for some time. It was something someone said, a lady friend of mine, and said to my then girlfriend or around my then girlfriend. And it was something that was a little bit of a jab. And I just thought, one, on definitely upon reflection, one, how unconscious, I'm not going to go so far as say privileged just yet, but how unconscious most people, women are, and saying things like this and thinking that it's okay. And also the lack of, there was no couth. I think that's the right term. It was just ungraceful, where they would say that around, and pretty mean, actually, pretty messed up, saying that where my, right there next to my then girlfriend, ex-girlfriend. And I didn't think anything of it at the time. Again, it's not as, well, I didn't see it as binary as I do now. I didn't see it as such a big deal. I always saw it as where height is something that's not as appealing, but not such a determinant factor. Back in my time at New York University, I used to hang out a lot in the recording studios there. I was a music technology student. Anybody who knows me will probably put the pieces together to who this involves. So I would say, one, because I was a nice person, a good person, a cool person to be around, but also because I had a lot of things going on. People like to hang out around me, be around me, and also it's the studio, so I used to just book time at the studio, and while I'm working on a project, my ex-girlfriend or just friends of mine would come by, and they would just hang out there, do their homework, do their assignments, while I'm mixing in the studio. Again, it's the school studio, so I just book it, go in there, and again, she's a student, she goes in there, does her homework, and that was that. Other friends would come by. So there was this girl that I used to always hang out with, and she was actually the one who, I wouldn't say introduced me, but I met my then ex-girlfriend through her. I would hang out with this one person. We hung out a bunch of times after class. We got to know each other. Nothing ever happened. But then I saw this other girl, and then that became my ex-girlfriend. So I don't know if that played a part. Maybe it did. I'm not going to go into it right now. But we're hanging out in the studio one day. I don't remember if anyone else was there. Maybe one or two other people were there, but it was definitely me, this girl, and then my ex-girlfriend. And then this girl, out of nowhere, comes and says, I don't remember the context, so please forgive me for that. Don't remember the context at all. This girl out of nowhere says, you know, Ted, if you were just a couple inches taller, you'd be dreaming. And again, at that time, I didn't think nothing of it. I just thought, and you really shouldn't. One really shouldn't. But then, I mean, they call us men stupid. Maybe so. Some people say I'm superhuman, but also there's the word human in there. So that's what some people say. But then there's also the word human in there. So I have a little bit of that too. So I didn't think much of it. It was more of, okay, whatever. Just laughed it off. It was funny to me. It was comical to me. But it was nothing really that I took to heart or took as a slight. But then when I look back, I think, and again, I don't think it should in the grand scheme. But when I look back, I think, wow, that was pretty disrespectful to say that in front of my ex-girlfriend. To basically say, if your boyfriend had this little adjustment, he will be much better looking. And again, like I said, I met my ex-girlfriend through, not from or by, but through, just from hanging out with this girl. So I don't know if maybe there was something there. And the one thing I will say is that this girl who said that was Christian. Now, I'm not going to say, I have to put this out there, just not to bash that group, but for a little self-reflection, right? Because I grew up Christian, right? I grew up with my grandparents. My grandfather was a pastor. My grandmother was the pastor's wife. So I was in the church every other day, every Sunday. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that equals to a person being a good person, but there's still some work that needs to be done, right? I just think something like this is maybe we can see it as work that needed to be done, but also something that's kind of obvious that one shouldn't say. But again, this is over a decade ago. I'm an early millennial. We're talking about more than 10, 15, even close to 20 years ago. So, we are young. I'm going to give that pass, but also something pretty simple, just not to say. I wouldn't say anything like that. And, yeah, so again, not to take a jab at that group. It's just more of something where you would think that that's something kind of simple, that living under that kind of principle, you would avoid. You would be cautious about. But they've just said it just so openly, so freely. And again, just more of so forgive me for the digressing, going on a little bit of a tangent, but for that group, just more of a self-reflection. Not saying anything. It's great principles, great teachings, but it's more of little things, just little things to be more self-aware about. But they said this right in front of my ex-girlfriend. I didn't think anything at the time. Then years later, I think to myself, wow, I was pretty messed up. And being a man, when you look back, you think, especially being older, you think back like, wow, I wonder how my ex-girlfriend took it. She probably took it as, wow, this guy just didn't know, that flew over his head. And, we just have to deal with this. Like, I have to really deal with this because he doesn't even know what's going on. So, just interesting. And not really taking this, not to criticize the person. I mean, we don't talk anymore. We've been a little bit estranged, you would say, but again, I've been a dissident. I've been sharing a lot of unpopular opinions. So a lot of people have created some distance between me and them, right? But not to say anything about them, but just the nature of just human behavior. Just how someone would say something like that. I don't know. And again, maybe it did have something to do with the fact that I hooked up. Maybe I didn't see some signs, but I don't think that girl liked me. But maybe I didn't talk to her. Maybe there's some of that. But just to say that next to her, thinking back, it rubbed me the wrong way. And it's just something where, I look at it and I'm being critical about it because it's something where I look back and think, well, it's not really a big deal, but that's something that probably is going to stick in my girlfriend's mind. So I would have probably just said something funny or whatever to kind of neutralize that. But now she has to think that, and she's going to look at me differently. I'm oblivious, but she's going to have to deal with that. And she has to just kind of eat it. So it's like, it was unnecessary. Why did that person say that? You know what I'm saying? And what I was going to say is maybe there's good intent behind it, but she could have said that, not in front of my ex-girlfriend. So, that's that. So anyway, another illustration, yet again. That's all for now. Just a quick one. Some stuff that I wanted to share, side notes, but nonetheless, quick illustration. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the rest of your day.